Hey everybody, welcome back to the Harmonious Path with Jen. Be sure to check me out over on Instagram at the same name and my website, harmoniouspathcoaching.com, where you can schedule private life coaching sessions with me. So today I want to talk about mindfulness and multitasking. So we all know someone who thinks they're a pro at multitasking, or maybe it's you yourself. So tell me if this sounds familiar. The news is on in the background. You're talking to somebody on speakerphone while texting with a couple of other people, all while trying to prepare dinner or get ready to start your day. A lot of people often envy those who have that ability to do so many things at one time. But I'm here to tell you that if you're not a pro at multitasking, you're actually pretty lucky. I myself can't do anything. I can't hold a conversation and do anything else that requires thought. I can't even sign my own signature and talk at the same time. You can tell when somebody that you're talking to, even on the phone, isn't fully there with you. And that doesn't always feel so great. So when you aren't multitasking, you are able to be much more present with the person that you're talking to or the thing that you're doing. Being present and practicing mindfulness allows you to experience life much more fully, more richly, more intimately. There's so much noise surrounding us every day, everywhere we go, never allowing us to fully relax and raising our stress and anxiety levels. Why would you want to bring even more stress onto yourself purposely? When you're fully present to the one thing that you're doing, you allow your brain to almost have a bit of a rest because it only has to focus on that one thing rather than trying to process and juggle and figure out where everything needs to be going and what it needs to be done. Science has proven that multitasking doesn't work. Only about 2.5% of people can actually truly multitask. So what the vast majority of us are actually doing is performing multiple tasks in rapid succession. And when you do this, you never get to focus on any one thing. You're just jumping from one thing to the next, minute after minute. And you never get to focus, and you don't get to retain the information. So not only does multitasking not work, it actually is detrimental to your performance. How many times have you not remembered whether or not you responded to an email? I'm really guilty of this, especially at my day job. There are some days where the emails just come piling in, and in an effort to maintain some semblance of order in my inbox, I will just respond to the, quick and easy ones immediately and move right on to the next thing. And then 15 minutes later, I don't even remember what was in the email or what was in my response. And this has kind of caught me a couple of times when my boss has asked me for a status on something that I'm working on, and I couldn't quite remember, and I had to say, let me check and get back to you. If I had spent time to actually focus on that email, I would have been able to give him an answer right away rather than looking like I dropped the ball. And when you're constantly switching between these tasks, you're never able to get into the flow state. That's when you are fully focused on the item that you're working on and when you're at your most productive and most creative. And it takes about 20 minutes to get into that flow state before you can even really take advantage of it. And the constant switching, it doesn't just reduce your focus in that moment, it reduces it in all areas of your life. I've talked to so many people who say they used to be voracious readers when they were younger, myself included, and these days they can't focus long enough to make it through an entire book. And that's what a lot of this social media and app switching does to us. We switch to Facebook, we switch to Twitter, we switch to Instagram, we check the news, we check our email, we play a little game. We're constantly getting these little bitty hits of dopamine. And our brain gets used to having those hits just like boom, 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 boom. So when we try to sit down with a more slow burning method of entertainment like reading a book, our brain gets bored and tries to find something else to fill that need for that dopamine. Being present and practicing mindfulness isn't easy when you first get started. Because our brains are wired for those quick hits, that's what it wants to keep looking for. So it takes a lot of patience and determination to instill that mindfulness into yourself and to train your brain so that it can really focus on what you're doing in that moment. So here's several ways that you can start practicing mindfulness. Stop the spiral. When you catch your mind wandering or you catch your thoughts just spinning out of control into a spiral of useless back and forth and what ifs, stop. My thoughts can spiral so bad sometimes that even when I do stop myself and pull myself out of it, 5 seconds later, I'm right back into there. So here's what I'll do. I will tell myself, stop. It might be in my head. It might even be out loud. And then I will physically redirect myself. I will get up and get a drink of water or make a cup of coffee. So think of a word that can signal to your brain that you need to redirect. And especially when you're just starting, it can also be really useful to have that physical redirect. So think of something quick and easy, making a cup of tea, doing 15 or 20 jumping jacks, taking a quick walk, just, step outside and get some fresh air and come right back inside. Just something physical to redirect yourself and really pull you out of that spiral. And make it easy. Keep it simple. You want this to be something that you can do easily every time this happens. Multitasking doesn't work. When you catch yourself multitasking, ask what you really need in that moment. What do you really need to be doing? This allows you to realize what you're doing, and then you can decide, do you want to continue working in that manner, which is perfectly fine if you consciously decide that's what you want to do. Or do you want to try and be present with the one thing that you're working on? Developing an email workflow can help with this as well. I know some people will only check their email once or twice a day, but if you don't work for yourself, like me, that's not possible. I mean, all hell would probably break loose if I only checked my email when I first got to work and then before I left or something like that. So maybe you just check your email once an hour, and then in between that time, you focus on the big task that you're doing. And maybe you will set aside 40 minutes or so, remembering it takes 20 minutes to get into the flow state. So once you hit that 20 minutes, you want to be sure you have time to take advantage of it. So set aside maybe 40, 45 minutes for yourself and focus on that one big thing you need to be doing. And then you can focus on the little emails, but still take them and be mindful of what's actually in them and what are you actually saying in your replies. Also be sure to give yourself frequent breaks. When I was still in the office, I would get up every hour and just walk around for 5 or 10 minutes. Now that I'm at home, working at home full time, I've been pretty bad about not doing that and just sitting way too much. And that's definitely something I want to remedy, both for my physical and my mental health. So when you take these breaks, don't think about work. Just walk around for 5 or 10 minutes and just try and clear your head and be as present as you can. It's not a break if you're still thinking about your to-do list. I'm not saying that you can never multitask. I'm just saying that you can be more aware of it and more mindful of what you're doing. It's absolutely okay to do something like take a walk and listen to an audiobook. Just be aware that you're not going to be fully present to either of those things. You might miss a few paragraphs, or you might be so focused on the book that you miss the rabbit that just ran out across your path. So just be aware of what you're doing and why. Be aware of habitual moves and phrases. The most common greeting probably in the world, or at least in America, is, "Hey, what's up?" or "Hey, how are you?" But do we ever really stop to listen to the answer? Do we really even want to hear the answer? Working in an office building like I do, I pass so many people in the hall every day, and it's always, "Hey, how are you?" And sometimes the other person doesn't even answer. And we're definitely not actually going to stop to listen to what the other person's saying. It's just a habitual, instinctual thing that we say that has no meaning. So look at these things in your life and where can you be more present? I'm not saying that you have to stop and talk to everybody you pass in the hallway. That would just be unrealistic. But be aware of these patterns and these habits in your life. Do a dopamine fast. Completely unplug for a period of time, such as 24 hours, and practice just sitting with yourself in silence and boredom. Yes, boredom. Do a dopamine fast. Completely unplug for a period of time, such as 24 hours. Let the people you talk to frequently know that you're doing this and know that you won't be responding to texts or phone calls or any other method of communication. You are allowed no electronics. You're also not allowed to distract yourself with a book. The challenge is to sit in silence. You can journal a little bit about your thoughts and feelings and what you're experiencing during this time, but don't use writing as a distraction. This is not the time to work on your next best-selling book. The challenge is to sit in silence and give your brain a rest. You can take a walk in nature, but avoid busy city centers. There's so much stimulation, and the point is to avoid stimulants. Some people also will fast during this time and only drink water. Beverages and tasty food can be a stimulant and a hit of dopamine. So if you really want to go all out with this, I would recommend trying that as well. If this sounds overwhelming and way too challenging right now, you can start with doing this for just half of a day and then work your way up to 24 hours. And then you can go even longer, maybe a full weekend if you want. Do this a couple of times a year to give your brain that hard reset. Every month might seem a little excessive. I know everybody is so busy these days, but maybe once every 3 months or even once every 6 months would be helpful. And a way you can do this on a smaller scale is to choose one day a week where you unplug, but it's not going to be this extreme. You can still hang out with your family, read books, listen to music, you can still eat, but unplug from social media and news and podcasts and YouTube and things like that, and give your brain a little bit of a rest once a week. Meditate. I think meditating is the most difficult, simple thing to do ever. All you do is just sit there. Easy peasy, right? If you've tried it, you know it's anything but easy. It seems nearly impossible to go more than 5 or 10 seconds without having a thought. Well, contrary to popular belief, the point of meditation, at least in this situation, is not to have no thoughts. The point is to practice being still, and when those thoughts arise, to acknowledge them and then let them go away. Don't focus on them. So that's why it's called a meditation practice, because it takes practice. And it is practicing letting your thoughts go. Just acknowledge it. Oh, there's a thought. And let it float away. Every time you do that, you're strengthening your practice just a little bit more, and that will help you to be more mindful and present in your daily life. Finally, focus on everything you do, no matter how small. Really focus on enjoying what you're doing. Now, maybe you're not going to enjoy your day job. I totally get that, but do this wherever possible. For example, when I'm sitting here doing work, my dogs will often come over and, want some attention. So a lot of times I will just kind of, reach my hand and pet them on the head while I'm still scrolling or doing whatever I'm doing, and then I go about my business. But if I take the time to stop and turn to my dog, whether it's Tiberius or Emmy, or even get on the floor and sit with them and pet them and really feel their fur under my hand, feel the warmth of their body as they lean against me, I can just feel my tension melt away when I allow myself to really be in that moment with them. Another example is spending time with friends or family. How many of us will be looking at our phone while we're with other people in person? I used to be really, really bad about this, and I'm still working to break this habit. But when you're talking to somebody and trying to have a conversation and they keep looking down at their phone and responding to text to other people, that doesn't feel very good, does it? So don't do that to other people. I know, again, this day and age, it's not always possible for your phone to be in your pocket 100% of the time. Emergencies arise. But by and large, focus on the person that is physically there with you rather than the digital representation of the person in your phone in your pocket. When you're able to be present with your friends and family in this manner, your relationships will get much stronger and much deeper. So what are some tips that you have for staying present and mindful in the day-to-day life? Let me know, leave a comment below, and until next time, be kind to yourself and those around you, and let your light shine for all the world to see. Bye.